Well, Dr. Afolabi-Brown, it's so great to see you again. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
And I know an area of expertise of yours is sleep. And I have to confess, I have not been sleeping well these past few nights. I'm not sure what it is. I've tried warm milk. I've tried a lot of things. And so I'm excited to talk to you. But I wanted to start with a kind of a high level base question, which is how does a lack of sleep contribute to or hurt our overall health?
Lack of sleep hurts our overall health in multiple ways. One of the first things we start to notice is an impact in our memory and performance, because during sleep is when we get to consolidate memory and our attention and focus gets sharpened. So we lose that. And then it also affects our physical health in terms of a higher risk of conditions like high blood pressure, heart attacks, feeling run down. You're more likely to have a lower immune system or lower functioning immune system when you don't sleep. And then also our metabolism. So there's a higher risk of gaining excess weight, losing said weight and, making those healthy food choices. So again, it impacts every aspect of our health.
And are there certain segments, I'm an older guy, but are there certain segments of our population that maybe are impacted more than others or aren't sleeping as well as they should be?
Unfortunately, it's across board. I would say, the much younger kids are not sleeping well because, they may need, a lot of reinforcement. They need their parents in bed with them. And as a result, their parents are not sleeping well because they're tending to their kids, or they have like worries, anxieties, and, being in maybe a sandwich generation, sometimes that also contributes. And then even our elderly population are also struggling with sleep because sometimes they've been on medications for so long, and sometimes the medicines are not working. And then also, there are other multiple sleep disorders that can contribute to, sleep issues, which is common across board.
And do you think that is this a kind of a newfound? I mean, I can remember as a kid, I could go out, come back, sleep for 4 or 5 hours. I bounce back and I was fine. And I don't remember all this level of anxiety that I personally feel. And I think others feel. Do you think that's something new within the past 5, 10 years that as a society, as a culture, we're just all feeling stressed?
Yes, I think that's exactly right. There's a lot more anxiety just with, the climate, the political climate, all of that. A lot more people, social media is playing a role as well. There's
Mhm.
a lot of uncertainty about the future. Those are things that are contributing to the sleep issues and the anxiety. And these things were present way back, but they were not as intense, and then so widely circulated because now social media is able to take things from 0 to 180 very quickly.
Yeah, I mean it is just in everyone's face. I think
Yeah.
virtually everyone of every generation carries a phone now, has access to this information in real time. And I get the sense, at least from my own perspective, that it creates a level of stress. So let's
Yeah.
forward and talk about, I mean, we can't go back and change social media. That's for, I guess, for others. But let's talk about the best way for anyone to approach getting to sleep? Is it still the warm glass of milk, or is that just a wives' tale, a myth, and there are other things that we should be thinking about?
Yeah, so yeah, with a glass of milk, I mean, it's pleasant. If that works for you, it's fine.
Yeah.
But it's really more of there's so many other things that we need to focus on that can help. So things that can support our nervous system, that can support our biology and our physiology, is more likely to give you the best results. So, when we think about that, we think of things like having a consistent sleep time and a consistent wake up time. That's really important. That's important for our circadian rhythm and things like that. And then the second thing that you want to pay attention to is having a bedtime routine. That really helps to set your brain into that mode for sleep. So, And that really is a cue for that circadian rhythm as well. And then your bedroom, paying attention to your bedroom, make sure that your bedroom is cool, it's dark, it's free of noise. I think I would say that's really important. Another thing to pay attention to is really where are you laying in the evening? Are you spending the rest of the evening in bed where you're watching TV, you're eating dinner, you're talking on the phone, you're on your laptop? We don't want to do that. We want to be able to make sure that the bed is for sleep and for sleep only. So that's something that you want to try and focus on. And then, there's the technology we talked about. Limiting how much technology exposure you have before bed will be very important because your brain mind racing, the blue light from the screens, all of that makes it hard to fall asleep. So you want to avoid the use of devices. So not just your phone, your iPad, your laptop, all of that, about 30 to 60 minutes before bed. And then I would say the last thing would be just paying attention to what you're eating. So if you're eating too late, if you're eating very high carbs, all of that too late, then you're more likely to struggle with sleep issues as a result of that.
Really excellent tips. And I want to come back to something in a second, but let me ask you about sleep aids because
Yeah,
you see the same ads I do. People, we talked about the kind of jokingly about the warm glass of milk, but there are sleep
yeah,
aids over the counter that people can get, and you can also get them prescribed. That seems to
yes.
me like a patch, not a
Mm.
solution, but I want to get your feedback on that and what we should be looking out for.
Yes, I think it's really important to look at what your goal is if you're using a sleep aid. As a temporary solution, maybe something is going on in your life, in situations like that, that's okay. But it's not really addressing the root cause of your sleep issues. So I always say before you go grabbing the sleep aid, or if you've already grabbed it, to say, okay, what is driving this? Why am I struggling with these issues? And how can I, get through where I can be able to be weaned off this sleep aids?
Yeah, I mean, I've read all sorts of horror stories. I mean, you don't want to be dependent on a chemical. You
Mm,
kind of want to
yeah,
patch your problems and kind of work it through. So I want to come back to, I've read a lot about the gray divorce, people in
hmm,
their 50s, 60s getting divorced. But I've also heard about the divorce. Some people just can't sleep with someone else in the bed. I mean, they move around. They're, all sorts of issues. How prevalent is that? And is that kind of a recent development? And is it good sometimes to sleep on your own? No spouse, no cats, no dogs, no whatever in the bed with you, no
yeah.
children.
Yeah, so the sleep divorce is a term that was coined more recently, but this is a practice that's been going on for decades, for a very long time, right? I remember my parents even, right? So,
Yep.
and it's a mutual decision where the couple decide that for the sake of better sleep, that they would rather sleep in separate rooms. My opinion is really around the why. Again, the why is so important. Why do you need to sleep in separate rooms? The person has restless sleep. Why does the person have restless sleep? So before we abandon and go to a different room, let's make sure that, well, maybe it's suggested to get some help, maybe do some blood work to figure that out. Sometimes it's snoring. One of the spouses is snoring. Well, before we leave the room, and it's fine if the noise is so bothersome, but really making sure that that partner gets the help they need. Snoring might be a sign of sleep apnea, which is a very serious condition. And we want to make sure we don't ignore it because at the end of the day, you're actually the solution to that person getting help for their snoring. Now, if you leave the room, who's going to let the person know? Because the person is asleep. So how on earth are they going to know that they're snoring because you've left the room? So I think really important to reach out for help, even though the sleep divorce and sleeping in a separate room may help temporarily, but you want to make sure that you're really supporting that person who might be struggling with a sleep problem.
Yeah, very well said. And look, those 8, 9, 10 hours of rest and recovery, so vital, especially
Mhm.
as we get older. Dr. Afolabi-Brown,
Yeah.
always great to see you. Thanks for joining us, and we look forward to having you back again very soon.
Yeah. Thank you for having
Well, thanks for watching, and don't forget, we're back again tomorrow morning with another great expert and another great topic. You can tune in right here Monday through Sunday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And don't forget to subscribe to our daily newsletter, The Morning Pulse, for all the news in one place, delivered directly to your email box. Check it out at our website.